John actually found the audio of it. Will you IM that to the guys down here, to David down here, so that we can, in fact, they tell me they just simultaneously found it. Pull it up on screen for folks, and we're going to go ahead and play this clip and then go back to your phone calls. Well, we got to go to break. When we come back, we're going to play the clip, and then we're going to continue with the phone calls for everybody that is patiently holding. So stay with us. I want to talk to Mordecai and Israel and others when we get back. But imagine, 10 years ago, I'd talk about the move to forcibly implant us with chips, with prisoners and Alzheimer's and babies and the rest of it. And then now, you know, I was called a kook. Now it's just mainstream. They're going, yeah, so what? You got to take a chip. That's how we fight Al-Qaeda. You prove you're safe. In fact, I have Andy Rooney saying you got to take a chip to prove you're safe on 60 Minutes.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold for your IRA? The financial industry refuses to recognize the value of real hard assets for your retirement. The truth be told, gold and silver has outperformed paper investments like stocks, bonds, and CDs, yet no word about IRAs. Perhaps the financial institutions want to maintain control of your assets by keeping you in paper. If you'd like to take a look at gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low return on your paper investments. Call 800-686-2237. Make sure that you secure your future. Call 800-686-2237. That's 1-800-686-2237.
Do you understand how dark it is? How far down the line we are? How late it is?
Okay, let's go ahead
when the man
and go to this clip. This is Joe Biden, and then there's a bunch of C-SPAN angles of this. This is the one where it's on Supreme Court Justice nominee at the time, Alito, and they are asking him, you know, you will rule, mark my words, on the implanted chip. This is your new vice president, sworn in tomorrow, there with 47,000. Excuse me, I said 45,000 earlier. It's 47,000 more troops and police than are in all of Afghanistan right now, all to protect the emperor, to foster this image that he actually runs something or that he can save you. Talk about trying to get folks hyped up. Here's the clip.
Can a microscopic tag be implanted in a person's body to track his every movement? There's actual discussion about that. You will rule on that, mark my words, before your tenure is over.
And so there is Joe Biden, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and go back to the calls. Let's talk to Mordecai in Israel. Mordecai, welcome.
Hi, Alex.
Yes, sir. Thanks for holding.
Thanks for having me, Alex. Actually, I wanted to talk about something altogether different, but I've been on the phone listening to the clips that you've been playing and your talk with Jerusalem. I want to tell you something about myself and where I'm coming from so you'll understand what it is that I want to say. I consider myself a brother truth activist. I wrote a report several years ago on the acquiescence of the Israeli government in Palestinian Authority first strike attacks on Jews, and I'm able to send you evidence of how that report actually prevented such an attack. Many of the things that were said in the clips that were played before I don't agree with, and I don't want to go into specifics unless you request it, because it would just take too much time. I know you have many other callers, and maybe if there's another opportunity. The clip that you played from the English Jew, I agree with almost nothing that he said except for one thing that I feel very strongly about, and that's where he mentioned the manipulation by the Zionists of the fact of the Holocaust in order to manipulate Gentiles into guilt, into doing things for Israel. I'll go further than what he said and mention the very fact of the Zionist complicity and help in helping the Holocaust to happen.
Well, that's on record. I mean, that's scholarly publications from universities in the United States. In fact, they funded Hitler from the beginning and made deals to where Jews weren't allowed to go to England or New York in the United States. They were blocked by Roosevelt and others, and then he was praised by the Zionists, and then they had to pay bribes to the Zionists to even be able to go to Israel. And so that's just government again. That's just elites again feeding on their own people in the name of saving them.
It's absolutely, it's a story of the elites. It's a story of...
Well, you're over in Israel. Why did Israel get those billions of dollars from the U.S. to irradiate 110,000 Sephardic Jews?
That's absolutely true, and that was the next point that I wanted to make. Is I wanted to praise you and thank you for bringing up the fact of the it's, I don't know if it can be called a genocide. Why did we know why the United States gave the money. We know why Israel performed these experiments. The only thing is that people need to know that it's not just the Israelis against the Sephardic Jews. It's also the Israelis against the Ashkenazic Jews. It's the Israelis against all Jews. There are many, many people, and thinking has been so befuddled and clouded on all the issues. Like I say... Yes,
you have this Illuminati elite that sits above every group, playing us all off against each other.
It's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. I wanted to say, Alex, you should know that my wife and I, on all of the issues, we agree. I never call talk radio in I don't know how many years, 25 years of 30 years of political activism. Your show is the only show that I will call because you're the only one, even though I don't agree with everything you say, and I'll tell you why. It's because some of the information that you get is from these Israeli newspapers like Haaretz, and for you to read that newspaper Haaretz and think that you know something about me, a Jew living in Israel, would be akin to me reading something in the New York Times and thinking that I understand something about Alex Jones.
Why would Haaretz come out and admit that Israel stages terror attacks?
I'd have to see the specific article that you're referring to. I think that anything that Haaretz does is for their own self-serving New World Order.
Well, listen, call back on another day and we'll spend more time. Appreciate your call. Good to hear from you from Israel. More calls straight ahead. Stay with us. We will cover the ridiculous coronation of the new puppet-in-chief, Barack Hussein Obama, who the establishment is casting as the role of savior. If you just turn off your thinking cap, do everything he says, the youth brigades, the troops, the government jobs, the foreign banks openly subdividing all of our infrastructure, the NAFTA superhighways, they will save you. I want to comment briefly on one thing Malachi was saying, and we're going to go back to Mark, Mr. X, Stan, Charles, and others quickly here. These callers all bring up such key issues, though. How do you not respond to them in some detail? And that issue is that everything is so nuanced and complex. You have to have the historical background, and you have to have the modern context, and then try to explain any of it is very hard to do because it oversimplifies. But when I get on air and I say, when you get to the highest levels of the New World Order, you find three things. You find Nazi occultist, you find Zionist occultist, and then you find a group even above that, kind of this Luciferian occult group. People make jokes out of that. Oh, the German death cult. Well, I mean, what is Skull and Bones? What is Bohemian Grove? What is the Israeli Supreme Court building? What are all these obelisks and all this occultism? I mean, we've gone over that. We know what it is. It is the Babylon Mystery School. I mean, I remember 10 years ago getting on air with guests and saying Madonna was doing Kabbalic rituals in front of every one of her concerts. And for 5 years, she's been admitting it. 3 years or so. Why are they obsessed with symbols and numerology and all of this? And then I criticize Israel for sneak attacking the USS Liberty to try to sink it, to blame it on Egypt as a pretext to widen the war in '67, the Six-Day War. Right out of Operation Northwoods. And then they're 100% culpable. But then I mentioned that the White House was involved, parked the ship there, wouldn't let the ship have aid, was clearly involved with Israel doing it. People say, oh, you're defending Israel, saying the U.S. did it. That's a psych warfare operation, folks. That's mental illness. That's intellectual dishonesty. That'd be like if two guys rob a bank, and I say these two guys robbed a bank, one guy's black, one guy's white. You say, oh, look at you being a racist against blacks, or look at you being a racist against whites. You know, or you're saying the white guy's guilty and the black guy isn't guilty. No, I'm not. I just said two guys robbed a bank. But see how intellectually dishonest that is. Or then I make a film like Endgame, and I show 20 or 30, I don't know, 25 or so examples in the film, in just one little 20-minute segment, of eugenics, killing U.S. troops, our own government, nerve gassing them in test, Israel being paid by the U.S. government to radiate and kill many of the 110,000 Sephardic Jewish children. People say, oh, look at you trying to make people feel sorry for Israel. That's not what I'm doing. I mean, I'm showing how evil the people are that run Israel, that they would do that to their own children. But I show how every government is doing that, because this is the religion of the New World Order, is killing and hurting innocents. These are sacrifices they're carrying out. Look at NASA, how they only launch on certain meridian lines and certain dates, and they admit it's all occultic with the trappings and the mission names, and it's all Masonic.